Hey, if you know me, if you've been here, you know I do gaming content, and now comic content, I guess. Some unboxings here and there, but I've been doing these comic book shorts for maybe a week now, and I've been reviewing comics that I've been reading, primarily Spider-Man and Venom. I got into comics probably late in 2017, maybe 18, and unfortunately got rid of my collection, but I started collecting again as of like the last month. Big props to my brother-in-law that got me into them again. I read primarily Spider-Man. I'm reading Venom as well right now. I don't venture too much off that. I probably will later though. But what I wanted to do instead of those 1 minute shorts in regards to the comics was give kind of like a full review, do a little short to get you guys excited to read, to want to watch this video, and maybe even go get the comic yourself and read it. Um, the comic I'm talking about today is Venom Volume 5, Number 1. Was written by Al Ewing and Ram V, and art was by Brian Hitch. Um, this Venom is off to a crazy start. You see Eddie Brock, who is now essentially the king of the symbiote, the king of the Venoms. He is essentially just, he controls them in any way he can, and they follow him. They do as he asks, and it doesn't seem like he's, causing any harm, or he's trying to bring peace. I guess it's a peaceful Eddie Brock, but this Venom is not primarily about Eddie Brock anymore. The comic itself starts with a few pages at what looks like a blown up motel. And from there, you see like a military unit and so on outside of this motel. And they're just looking for Eddie. And it's Dylan, his son, who we'll talk a little more about. But essentially, Dylan is in the symbiote and they're looking for Eddie. And the symbiote tells him, Eddie's gone. Dylan, we have to go. And from there, the story begins. You see Eddie in a suit, as usual, the Venom suit. You see Eddie in the Venom suit. He's in what seems like space, or like a different galaxy of space. And from there, he's controlling all the symbiotes in this universe. And they board what looks like a pirate ship. It is a pirate ship, actually. And they're trying to get rid of these pirates who are, selling slaves. And as Eddie's doing that, he splits his symbiote team up and he finds the head of the ship. He goes ahead and takes care of those people. When Eddie reports back to his symbiote, something's off. And before we get to that point, we get a little glimpse of Dylan, his son, Eddie Brock's son, Dylan Brock. It seems that Dylan is always fighting, is what they show in his little opening intro of this. And the principal asks, "Where's your father? Haven't been able to get a hold of your father," and so forth. So Dylan seems to have those anger issues and fighting issues that Eddie Brock has always had. And from there, Dylan goes home to an empty home where his dad has been gone for, I think they mention, over 2 weeks. Eddie hasn't called or checked in with Dylan. Dylan has a symbiote that follows him. And in this edition, it's in cat form. So after that brief stint of seeing Dylan, it pans back to Eddie, and Eddie gets, I guess, a calling or like a intuition of one of his symbiotes that was clearing up the rest of the pirates. And as he gets there, he noticed this black figure in kind of its symbiote form, but not really, and red eyes. And it took full control of the symbiote that Eddie has full power of. And Eddie couldn't control it anymore. He tried to control it, and he says he can't move it. He can't move it with his mind, because that's how Eddie controls the symbiotes. And Eddie says, I can't control it. I can't stop it. I don't even want to touch it. And the words that stick with Eddie are from this being or whatever it is that has taken over a symbiote is, Don't sit too comfortably on your throne, king in black. Soon it will be empty. And he says this isn't a threat, it's a warning. So that leads Eddie to kind of panic. And Eddie goes to try to take out whatever this thing is, and it just vanishes. And Eddie realizes the pirate ship they're on had a distress signal going on. And from there, he gets the rest of the symbiotes out. And he asks, the symbiotes ask, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's happening? What's happening? And he didn't even, he couldn't answer to that. He couldn't comprehend it. Kind of just let it go and got them out of there before the cleanup group came for the pirate ship. So after that little encounter, the warning sticks with Eddie. And it pans back to Dylan's story, where Dylan is at home in his empty house where his father has not been in forever. So Dylan then is awakened by Eddie at 2 something in the morning. And Eddie asks his son, or tells his son, I need you to get up, I need you to pack, and I'll explain it on the way out. Well, five seconds later, as Dylan is doing this, he gets a call and it says Dad. And we then find out Eddie in there is not really Eddie Brock, his father. It's someone or something else. And Dylan is told by his dad over the phone, tell whoever's downstairs you found what you were looking for to buy yourself time. And that you're looking for something, you found what you're looking for, buy yourself some time. So he does so. But the one thing that the fake Eddie Brock asks Dylan is, where's the symbiote? And Dylan says, I'm not sure. It's got a mind of its own. And, the cat symbiote is there, but it's obviously not the symbiote they're all looking for. And so Eddie, his real dad over the phone, tells Dylan, go down the drain pipe that's outside of your bedroom window and meet me at this motel. Don't cause any attention. Don't do anything. And lastly, just don't bond with the symbiote. So there was a figure outside of the house before fake Eddie Brock walked in that was looking into the house where Dylan was standing. And when Dylan leaves the house after his dad tells him to get out of the house, there's another figure in a hat and a trench coat looking for him. So it pans back to Eddie in the motel, rethinking, saying to himself, my son is in danger. I could maybe go into the future and see what happens, and tries it. Things don't go as well as planned. And all of a sudden you see lights. Eddie sees lights outside the motel. It's just the bus. It's the bus his son's on. He says, Dylan's here. He opens the door. And as he opens the door to look out to see his son, a whole, what seems like a military organization or something rains hell on this motel. Just, missiles from the helicopter are coming down and all this other stuff and a bunch of ground units. And Dylan is in the line of fire, and as he's standing there, that man in the trench coat and the hat happened to be the symbiote that they were looking for. And the symbiote saves Dylan, but at the cost of Dylan having to bond with the symbiote, which Eddie kept telling him not to do. So from there, Dylan officially is the heir to the throne, essentially, or gains the power gains the power of the symbiote. The bonds with the symbiote, with Venom. And it looks like from here on out, Dylan is going to be our Venom. What was interesting about that, though, is after the page where Dylan sticks around and with Venom and he's in the symbiote and they're looking for his dad, they go back to a page of Eddie. And it's him saying, this is how my story ends. He's like, I felt this before. I felt how my body ends. He's like, I'm already gone, but somehow I'm here. So after he's essentially dead and gone, he's brought back somewhere. He says, it feels like I'm coming home. And he's in the symbiote. He's in Venom form. So somebody starts talking to him and they say, you've just reconstructed yourself from the available matter. You'll need a minute to get your bearings. And on the final page, it's a large figure. I'm Meridius, my friend, and here at the furthest end of all this, I welcome you to my garden. And it's a huge image of Meridius looking over Eddie Brock in Venom, and the issue ends. But then there's a little like one pager of Meridius holding a skull and saying, "This is all that is left of Eddie Brock." And says, "So it begins as it always does, Doctor. All this is happening now has already happened before." So after edition 1 and all the craziness, I'm starting to think with all the power that Eddie Brock gained as Venom, he's done this more and more and through many lives. That was edition 1. I look forward to seeing how Dylan and his story goes forward as being Venom and bonding with the symbiote, but at the same time, I'm extremely curious to see what happens with Eddie Brock's future and how they explain that story. I'm about 2 editions behind, and by the time this video comes out, I know a lot of people or anybody that watches this might be ahead. So if you can try not to spoil anything in the comments for me while I read, because I'm going to be doing a video each comic I read, and I'll usually keep them in order. I'm trying to get caught up with these comics, so as I get caught up, I'm recording a video. So I appreciate you sticking around. If you enjoyed this comic, if you're enjoying this series so far, let me know in the comments. If you could drop a like and sub to the page, I'd really appreciate that. There's gonna be a lot more comic reviews on top of my gaming stuff. So if you guys want to check out my gaming stuff, there's playlists there as well. It should all be under the shorts playlist for gaming. And then I'm gonna make a playlist for my full-length comic videos. And then there's a 1-minute synopsis that I did for a few comics, but now I think I'm gonna do a whole thing per comic. So thank you for sticking around. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.